Oh, boy. We were right. We were right. We said that the Chiefs were going to lose a tight one, and we were right. And I don't know if any of us predicted that Patrick Mahomes would tear his ACL. Again, the story of the season. What could go wrong would go wrong. I apologize. I just had a real craving for these.
I was wondering what was going on.
Started.
I'm sorry. I just had a real craving for those that are not watching us live. Well, if you're on YouTube, please like and subscribe. Those not watching us live, you're listening on the podcast. I just had a craving for the old the circus
the frosted animal
with the sprinkles.
So
Serda, I swear, I thought he was doing some kind of a bit. I didn't know what the bit was, but I thought it had to be some kind of a bit that was coming our way. And then,
no, I just wanted to. I love these.
I kind of want. I haven't had those in 15 years.
Let me ask me how long did it take you to purchase it? 20 minutes. I was at the local grocery store. 20 minutes.
Trying to just find those.
I couldn't find them.
I would imagine they're in like the snack / cookie aisle.
Sometimes. They're in the cookie aisle.
By the chips.
They're in the cookie aisle, but the only person I saw was there was a box that had a 3-pack and they were snack size. And it was one of these, the circus, and then like a fudge one and a peanut butter one. I could not find it. And I'm looking at the regular nasty animal crackers, and I'm like, it's gotta be in here. And I'm not seeing any kind of thing on the ledger saying the frosted animal cookies. I can't find it. So after the first 5 minutes, I said, well, I guess it's just not meant to be. And I rolled out. And then I said, well, let me circle back around. Let me get back down. And then I went and looked again. And I went, slowly, really looking at every section until I run out and moved into the cracker portion. So then I moved on again. Then I said, well, hold on, man. Let me check. You know, you can look up. It'll say what aisle these things are. I said, aisle 10. I said, let me look again. And then I decided to get in that position that Tiger has trouble getting into now. The squatted position to look at a putt. So I was looking at a putt, but I'm looking right down, and there's one bag, and it's all the way to the back in like the bottom row. And I had to grab a knee to reach all the way to the back to get that one bag. And here she is. And I have been smoking these bad boys the last couple of days. They're fantastic, Steve. I'm telling you. Go check out HEV.
In high school, I used to crush those things.
They're delicious, especially with vodka. So go to Hy-Vee. I'm sure they've got some in the cookie aisle, and you can do your thing. By the way, I would like to point out, the rest of the NFL fans. I just want you to know, and maybe you know this. I don't know. This felt like a year-long feud in wrestling in which to everyone the heel got beat, and everyone is rejoicing. I just want to let people know that are non-Chiefs fans, when this thing gets back on track, and deep down, many of you will say things like, oh, it's over, the dynasty's dead. Deep down, you know, they're going to get back on track. And when they get back on track and they get back to their spot, if you thought Chiefs fans before were insufferable, if you thought that Taylor Swift and seeing Travis Kelce and Brittany, all of that, you thought that got on your nerves, the way that so many people have taken victory laps and celebrated even the injury to Patrick Mahomes, the way that I've listened to them dudes bussing with the boys. I've listened to Carton. I've listened to Bart Scott. I'm talking about mainstream people, let alone just random regular ass fans. Celebrate this to to the hilt. Boy, y'all gonna hate Chiefs fans. Y'all gonna hate them because they be honest. Some of them was being nice. Now they are going to be. Oh God, can you imagine what Nick Wright's gonna do? Oh my God, he's got that damn thing full of banners. I mean, it is just. It is. I'm just the way. I'll be honest with you, fellas. I've never seen anything like it. It is unbelievable the reaction. I knew people would be happy when the Chiefs didn't win a Super Bowl or make it, based off how people were with the Eagles. But I'm telling you, it has caught me off guard how hard and how happy people have been because the Chiefs got eliminated on Sunday. I did not see it being this type of a thing.
So I remember when the Chiefs beat the Patriots on that home opener in, what was that, 2017 for the Patriots. And I remember the reaction to that. And I think that was like ESPN, whatever the pregame show was. Maybe it was NBC. And they were like, it's over. This is the end of the Patriots dynasty, blah, blah, blah. And obviously it wasn't. Like it was the opposite of the end of their dynasty. They continued their run from there. But it reminds me so much of what we're witnessing right now with the Chiefs, which is like, it feels as though people have like 7 years of pent up frustrations that they're taking out on one team. And I'm talking about nationally, not just locally. We'll get to the local reaction here in just a little bit. But so many people have grown so frustrated by the success that the Chiefs have had since the start of the Patrick Mahomes era that anytime they've wanted to come after him and say, ha, see, we got him. Ha, see, we got him. They would wait and wait and wait. And eventually the Chiefs would prove them to be wrong. And for the first time, they get to be right. This is the year that ultimately, if you are a Chiefs hater, you get to have your moment. And you know what? You've earned it. The Chiefs failed this year, man. Like they didn't get the job done. And so God bless you. You can go out there and whatever it is that you want to say about this specific Chiefs team, you can go ahead and say it. It is earned. They have earned that disrespect in 2025. What I would caution people on, though, I would end it there. I would level your...
Oh, they can't do that, BK.
Your frustrations, your criticisms, your level of failure at the 2025 Chiefs. Doing so for 2026 or beyond, suggesting this is the end of the dynasty, anything like that. I mean, hey, man, you can do it, I suppose, but you're doing so at your own risk because I think that more likely than not, you'll look foolish here in about 8 months or so, but it's what everybody's doing, so it's their prerogative, I suppose.
Everybody did this with the Patriots, and the Chiefs are just the new team, and thankfully this season they didn't really show much of Taylor Swift because I think she requested not to be shown during games. Or otherwise, could you imagine if they were still showing her on TV broadcasts, how people would freak out about it? Like, I get it, and you know, we've benefited pretty heavily from the success of the Kansas City Chiefs. This is the first time in years that, like, we're not going to have anything to do in January, really. Like, it's a wrap already. And so we got to get through the rest of this regular season and really start diving into the draft in the offseason and all the decisions that they're going to have to make roster-wise with this team. And it's not something that I'm even used to doing anymore because of all of the success that they have had. Even though it's something that we grew up like knowing nothing but that kind of like January pain for the Kansas City Chiefs. But it's just easy to root against the teams that are successful, and it's easy to get sick of them. And you know, you see all these other teams right now that finally have a shot, and this is just what every other fan base in the NFL has been chasing for the last 7 years. And they finally have an opportunity because they don't got to worry about Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs. And if the Chiefs did still somehow find a way to sneak in this year, every team would still be scared to death of playing Patrick Mahomes in the postseason, even though I don't think they would have done anything in the playoffs if they would have snuck in.
Steve, I know you said the Patriots dealt with this. I'm sorry. It doesn't feel like it was like this. Like this. And I'll be honest, it shouldn't be surprising because the intensity level on the Chiefs once they became the Chiefs, I don't know if that's the second Super Bowl, because I do think the first one people were more or less like, more fans. I don't know if it was the which one it was, but whenever it is they became the Chiefs, it was more intense than anything. Like, it was way more intense of hatred for like Steph Curry's Warriors. It was, if there even was, I don't remember there being way more intense than even maybe this is the closest thing for me, and social media wasn't as prevalent, is when the Heat lost to the Mavericks and the celebration moment. But even that was just one season, right? And then maybe when the Spurs beat them, but I still don't remember it being this intense. Like, I mean, the amount of people, I bet you this thing, when did it happen? December 12th or 13th or whatever. I bet you the Chiefs losing is still going to be a thing that people are talking about to the playoffs. Like, it is. I'm sorry. I am blown away.
The whole playoffs is going to be, can Josh Allen get it done? And how this is Allen taking over the league, and now it no longer belongs to Patrick Mahomes or something like that.
It will be. I would also say this, and we don't have to spend too much time on it, but just kind of a bigger picture conversation. Ron, we live in just like a hater society now. Like, I think
even more than the Patriots dynasty, the Heatles, all of that. Yeah.
I think, like, you can go to the college football landscape right now. Instead of talking or previewing these college football playoff games, we're just talking about how group of 5 teams shouldn't be in. We're like, no, exclude them. They can't possibly win any of these games, so we don't need to see them in any of the games. You go over to the NFL, and it's people hate the Chiefs. You go to the NBA, and it's, hey, the NBA Cup, that sucks. Or if you're an NBA fan and you actually watched the games, you're like, man, these are actually pretty good games. I don't know. It seems like
that's more of a LeBron sucks or yeah.
So, like, it's constantly something that people have to hate on, instead of just, like, I don't know, watching sports because they're fun or enjoying what your favorite team is doing. So
I think this Chiefs run, and that's a good point, in this hater world period, and not just hater world period, but comfort to coming out,
yes,
and showing your hate. And I think the Chiefs have just been the perfect storm of it. When you bring in, like you said, Serda, Taylor Swift, all of a sudden, like, if you watch and read enough, you wouldn't know that she's the most popular entertainer in the world. She must feel like she's not. And Travis and Mahomes and, like, the fictional referee thing that all of, like, it was the perfect storm to fit this thing. So you're right. But it is wild to me. But you're right. People are, boy, I mean, this might take, they're done. They're done for years. I've heard people just, like Dominique Foxworth, I love you. My man said he doesn't see Mahomes playing in 2026. So I say, what? It's a 9-month injury. But just the timeline. I've heard many people talk about this being a couple of years before they've got to do things and change things up. I don't know, man. I know obviously it all kind of hinges on what Mahomes does and how the offseason goes. But, like, I don't look at this team thinking it's gonna be a couple of years before they're real Super Bowl or level contenders like they have been.
I don't feel that way either. I know that's been out there. I think a lot of it is because of the Mahomes injury. Like, that's the part of it that people are like, oh, Mahomes is not even gonna play next year. And I'm like, what? He's a quarterback, man. And he tore his ACL. I feel like we've come to a place now where we almost expect guys to be back in 9 months and kind of look like their previous selves. This is going to sound weird when I say it. I understand that, but in some ways it might even be kind of a good thing for him to just have a little bit of time off to just like focus on getting his body right again. It sucks that it had to happen with the torn ACL. That's obviously not a good thing, but for the first time in a long time, he's going to have like a legit full off season to be able to get himself prepared for the next regular season instead of having an extra 6 weeks of football. But back to the point on the Chiefs and how long it's going to take. I mean, it's Andy Reid and it's Patrick Mahomes. I expect them next year to go back to being in contention. Part of this, by the way, is the fact that they're going to have an easier schedule for the first time in a really long time. Dude, they've been playing a first place schedule since 2016. This has been a decade of them. Every year you go through it and you're like, oh my God. I mean, you look back at the schedule this year, dude, it was an absolute gauntlet that they had to go through.
Seriously, when's the last time they played take a deep breath? They're clearly playing a team that either that's going nowhere or a team that isn't in playoff contention.
If you eliminate the division, like because the Raiders are this, and I would throw them into that. Washington is the closest thing to that. And at the time, it didn't feel as though they were like a completely washed up team. Before that, you have to go back to the Giants. It's basically 3 games the entire season.
But I'm just saying that's the last time, though.
Yeah.
Like 6
weeks ago, dude.
They played the Chargers, who are the 5 seed in the AFC with double-digit wins. Before that, they played the Texans, who are the 7 seed with 9 wins. Before that, they played the Colts, who were 8-3 at the time, and now are the 8 seed with 8 wins. Before that, they played the Broncos, who are the number 1 seed in the conference. Before that, they played the Bills, who are the number 6 seed in the conference with double-digit wins.
They had the Lions, the Jaguars, the Ravens, the Eagles, the Chargers again. Like they have played almost exclusively playoff contenders this year. And
I missed the Cowboys in there. I missed the Cowboys. There's a Cowboys game in there on Thanksgiving too.
When you play a third-place schedule, the way that they almost certainly will next year, that changes a little bit. It allows you to have something more similar to what the Patriots are playing against this season. Yes, they'll still have to go up against the division and with the Chargers and the Broncos now looking like this is going to be, a pretty decent run for both of them. That's not going to be easy, but it will be more manageable than what you saw this season from the Chiefs. So I think anybody counting them out for 2026, that's wild to me. I can't believe people are already ready to do that.
Yeah, it's weird. It is, and this kind of be a story of maybe some of the stuff we talk about here. It is strange how this 1 year has completely turned face on so many people within the Chiefs. I'm talking about in the inside and outside. Like I've said it to you. I don't know that this is an overhaul. Like, to me, right? I feel like they've already started it some ways, but like to me, it's been a weird season of in and out, different reasons why people are in and out. But now, like, people are already over Xavier Worthy and done with him. And believe like he's got to be replaced. Just have done with Rashee Rice, right? Like in that space over him. Like it is just wild to me about how so many people are just like, oh, they won't. Yeah, like you said, man, so many factors. I will be shocked if this team is not a contending team next year. And to think like, yeah, Mahomes, I don't know that I agree with some people who have said like he'll try to be back week 1. I think he will go to hell and back to try to get there. Rick Burkholder already said it could be 9 months, give or take either way. But I completely believe, hey, 1 month without Mahomes and the backup quarterback and Andy Reid knowing it all the way. And I got a sneaky suspicion that maybe some of those big games will be backloaded. Whatever, like the Buffalo game, I don't think they're going to have it early. Like the New England game, I don't think they're going to have it early. I get the feels potentially that if it's Gardner Minshew, whatever quarterback it is, may face a schedule early that doesn't have as many of those key matchups in it, right? So TV time can get Mahomes, right? They're not gonna be able to control the schedule and give us Josh Allen versus Gardner Minshew, not on purpose. No, they're not. They're not going to do what's happening on Christmas night this year. So I do, man. I like, it is so crazy to me that the thought is this is a team that has never just been Patrick Mahomes. It's never just been Patrick Mahomes. I don't care what people say. Like, it's never been that. They've had great players and players that complement each other and a great coaching staff. And yes, they had some wonky, weird stuff happen, and all of them not just weird. They weren't great. In some forms, not good. Maybe Dave Tobe's done, but they weren't good. But they've got a resume that should scream, yeah, they'll figure this out. They got a resume that would scream the opposite. So I think it is weird. I do want to say what is frustrating me, and I don't want to be the bad guy, and maybe it is the algorithm that I am getting on my social media feeds. The blame game and it being held short. Like, hey, Matt Nagy, boy, you think he's got control of the entire team with how much he is getting hit. Isaiah Pacheco, you think he's got like he's doing it all. I think Pacheco's pass blocking and everything. Juwan Taylor, to like, certain guys are getting the heat, baby. And I would just say, and maybe you guys disagree. I'm not trying to put any words in anybody's mouth. I know people were live. You can chat. You can jump in. Like, if I see another video or another stat or another thing that keeps showing statistics or clips or things that show that Patrick Mahomes is being screwed over by his team, but not the reverse, I'm going to lose my mind. I have openly, fellas, had flat conversations with myself based off of things that I am looking at just out loud, like I'm talking to somebody else, like just losing my mind. Listen, man, Rashee Rice failed Patrick Mahomes. Matt Nagy, Andy Reid failed Patrick Mahomes. Juwan Taylor, Caliendo, Jalen Moore, they failed Patrick Mahomes. Do you know what else? Patrick Mahomes failed Xavier Worthy. He failed Rashee Rice. He failed Andy Reid. Isaiah Pacheco failed Patrick Mahomes. The offensive line failed Isaiah Pacheco. What I'm getting to is everybody failed everybody. And this ain't one where it's just like, no, man. Like, just singling out and acting like Patrick Mahomes was just dragging this team with all his might, and everybody at every turn was screwing him over. Yes, they screwed him over, but he screwed over this team left and right this year, including the final, the drive before he got injured. For the fourth time, he has thrown a red zone interception at the goal line, or worse, in a game in which they lose by one possession. Did it again. He had the tie. He did it again, like he did against Jacksonville, which really feels like the turning point game, like he did against Denver. And I don't want to be the bad guy, But every time people show a clip of, oh, look at the Chiefs, look what they did in man coverage this time, there's another clip of Hollywood Brown running open and he just can't pull the trigger. There's a clip in the Colts game where they end up scoring a touchdown, but Travis Kelce's wide open on a corner route that he generally throws in his sleep. Right? He can't hit a deep ball to save his life. Even the ones that he complete, they got to stop. Nothing. I have not seen Patrick Mahomes complete a pass deep down the field to somebody in stride in years. In years. And I don't say that to just point at all of his, but this was a full-fledged team failure. This was not like 2023. I get you. MVS couldn't catch me till the end when he could, but he couldn't catch it. Like they were, yeah, you could see that this dude was wheeling. No, man, this year that's not the case. BK, Serda, you may disagree with me, but by far, this was the worst Patrick Mahomes that I've ever seen in my life since he's been here. And I don't think this is all to do with what was around him. I think it was him also in this. Some of it has to do with, I just want us to be fair and honest about this thing. And I am just overseeing so much on, man, look, what is he supposed to do? That's what it feels like to me. What is he supposed to do? Right? It's just,
it's just funny because like we just do this as NFL fans, and I know we're on the outside looking in, and we just want to try to understand like the decision making and the process that goes into all this stuff. And there's so many components of football that like that's why it's so hard to try to like even break down and like diagnose like what you're seeing on the field on any given play a lot of times. But everybody has to find a scapegoat all the time. And the answer can just be that organizationally and team-wide, this season was a failure. Like, it doesn't have to just be on Mahomes. Like, I've criticized Patrick Mahomes plenty this season because he wasn't good enough at times. And there was times where in games this season where he was the reason that they weren't winning those games. And, you know, the same thing can be said about Travis Kelce. But then I think at times, I think it was the game planning and the play calling. Like, and then other times it's the pass rush and the defense not being good enough or questionable decision-making by Steve Spagnuolo and the way he's choosing to deploy his personnel this season. Like, all of those things can be true, but we always have to find a scapegoat because now I know everybody, and I am totally in favor of staff changes this offseason and changing things up because it does feel like this thing got real stale this year. And that's the type of stuff you can't just sit around and be stagnant. And that's what happens with a lot of these older coaches too. They just get stuck and they don't adapt and they don't change things up. And so I think it's vital that they do that stuff. But Matt Nagy, I think, should be replaced. And I don't think he was ever the greatest guy to like come in and replace Eric Bieniemy. But I was vocal about that back then. Remember for years and years when people wanted Bieniemy gone because
now they want him back.
Every time the offense had a bad game, oh, it's Eric Bieniemy's fault for some reason. Now everybody, oh no, we loved Eric Bieniemy. He's the guy that kept everybody accountable, and we can't wait to get him back as the Chiefs offensive coordinator. Like, for years he was the scapegoat, and they were winning Super Bowls during that time frame.
So they've been winning Super Bowls with Nagy.
It's a good point. I struggle with this, Ron. Because I do see all of the Chiefs struggle to get open with man and the scheme's not good. And I think all of that's true. I agree with Serda. Like, it's everything. The offensive line.
That's what I'm saying.
By this week, the offensive line was just that, like, the dam broke. They had 1 or 2 or 3 too many injuries on the unit. It just wasn't tenable at this point. The running game was a disaster from the word go this season. The wide receivers, I can't explain it, but they just weren't as good this year as any of us expected them to be. And also, man, I look at Mahomes' numbers. Dude, it's the same for 3 consecutive years now. Like, all of them. They're the same. And this is with different receivers. This is with different offensive lines. This is with different schemes. Like it's different everything around him. But now for 3 consecutive seasons, it is almost by rate stats the exact same every year.
And the crazy thing is, real quick, BK, to that is, for most of the year, we felt like this is we're getting back to seeing Mahomes statistically look like Mahomes, and hear about since the bye week, this thing has taken a nosedive to where it has gotten back to, as you just said, where you look up there and he's been working that 22 touchdowns to 26 touchdowns and 11 picks to 14 picks. Like he's been in that range with those particular numbers and not cracking 4,000 yards, passing.
It's almost the same. Like I'm not going to bore people by getting into the exact like touchdown percentages, interception percentages, success rates, QBR, like all of these nerdy numbers that I like to look at. But just know that they're all, you can go over to Pro Football Reference and look at them yourself. They're the same. They're the same in 2023, 24, and 2025. And at a certain point in time, I have to look myself in the mirror and say, like, hey, Ron's got a point here. Some of this is on Mahomes. Some of this is on him not being the same player that he was. And this is not me saying, like, it was all Kelsey in his prime. It was all him having the ability to throw to Kelsey plus Tyreek Hill, or 2022 was just like this unicorn season that we're not going to see again. I believe it's still in there, but something has gone awry here. And I don't know. I can't put my finger on what it is exactly, Ron, but it almost feels as though like that 2023 season, it taught him so many bad habits where he doesn't trust the offensive line. He doesn't trust his guys to get open, because you're right. There are times where his guys are getting open and he's not letting it rip. It almost feels like he's in a similar spot to where Trevor Lawrence was for most of his career, where Lawrence just didn't trust anything around him. So we went into hero mode all the time. And it allowed him, or required him, to make stupid throws. And the result was he would end up losing more games than he won for his team because he was trying to constantly make something happen. And it feels like Mahomes is there right now, where he's just pressing and he feels tight and he's not playing free. He's not letting it rip. And you look at the deep ball, dude, it was terrible again this year. He was throwing it more often, but it was completely ineffective. And I can't explain that either, because early in his career, that was his best asset, was how well he threw the deep ball. So I don't get it. I'm confused by it all. It doesn't make sense to me. And if anybody's got answers for it, I would love to hear them.
My thing is, I think all of this stuff is all connected. Like, I think it's not just that they can't beat man coverage or they're not getting open. I think it's a connection of the run game. Its struggles are affecting that. The offensive line and their injuries and their struggles are affecting that. Like, dude, Xavier Worthy is way too fast for guys to break on his routes. And I watched the Chargers the last 2 weeks, Chargers and Texans. Like, they have no belief, oh, man, he ain't going to have enough time to run deep. There's no way. He's not running. He don't have time to run deep, so I'm coming up. There guys breaking right to him. Like, if Xavier Worthy is going to sell a go route, your first steps have to be back. But there's a belief of, no, they're not going to, he's not going to have enough time to get this to get him down the field. So I know they're cutting it off, because they have to cut it off, because they can't just act like they can have 3 seconds, 4 seconds, right? Then late, as you said, the offensive line, anytime they wanted to throw the ball downfield worth anything the last 2 weeks, they've had to go max protect and keep and have only 3 guys in a route. So I just think it's all connected, right? And I guess the best way that I can kind of state it is, right now, as you talked about it, Serda, most people believe Andy Reid has got to make changes. He's got to, as you said, stale. He's got to make changes. There are people who said Xavier Worthy, he has got to get better and make changes. Rasheed Rice, he has got to get better and make changes. We got to know with it. George Karlaftis, They've got to get better. Brett Veach has got to get better and has to hit blah, 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 blah. It feels like people believe that people around Patrick Mahomes have to get better, and then he won't look the way he's looked. And I don't believe that is the case. I don't think that he is not included in that. I think he's got to get better. As you said, you broke it down. My man dips out of pockets that he don't have to dip out of pockets. My man won't step up when he could just step up. My man, like, anticipation throws, that's out the window. Remember we talked about Alex Smith with throwing when you're open? The only person that he will sometimes do anticipation throws to is the person that looks like he's about to retire. That ball, there are times that ball should come out before someone gets out of their break. Those balls never come out. They're out of their break. He is waiting. And he didn't play ball like that. Now, you can keep blaming that on everything else, but at some point, like, he's got to, I just think this is a season. You said it last week perfectly, BK. Everybody failed. Mm-hmm. You spoke specifically about the offense. Everybody failed to get here. This was not one where it's like, man, yeah, they were really bad, but God, well, what is he going to do? Like, last year, at times, man, his whole left side was struggling. What's he going to do? That's not the case this year, man. If you close your eyes right now and you start thinking about the plays that keep you up the most, how many times is he involved in it? like that. Like, they're just like, I'm like, whoa, like what is he? He's up to 11 interceptions. You remember he was sitting there with 2 picks for a long stretch of the year, and now he's shot up there.
Every one of them is just backbreaking, just like the worst possible moment for one to take place, and then it's just, man, it's brutal, and I think they'll be able to overcome it with time. But this season, they didn't have it in them. They didn't have an answer. Like, this is a team that has built the entire dynasty on finding answers over the course of the season. Like, every year, they've got something that they've got to fix, and they find a way to do it. Hell, even last year, remember this time of the year, we were talking about, I don't know, man, can they fix this offensive line? Like, is this a fixable problem? And they fixed it all the way to the Super Bowl. And obviously, then it was exposed once again. But for the first time in the Patrick Mahomes era, they didn't have the answer. They ran out of answers this season. And that requires a lot of looking internally and figuring out, okay, we didn't have answers. Why? Where do we find them in the future? How can we avoid this again? And this gets to a lot of the bigger picture questions. Serda mentioned it. We've made reference to it. What does this mean for Andy? What does this mean for the coaching staff? How much does Brett Veach have to wear of this? Because we've been talking a lot about the players today and the scheme and all of that. Like, this is a much bigger picture conversation to me on what is the direction from here. How do you fix what's going wrong? Because you can't just assume the guys that you have internally are just going to get better and magically in 2026, they're going to be able to flip that switch again and get right back to where they once were.
No, yeah, I do want to get to that, but I think Serda BK said something. When you went over like the last 3 years, this is what Mahomes has looked like. I think the clear difference is he's been inaccurate. He's been kind of up and down, not trusting things.
Yeah,
but he's either also been able to come up and make plays down the stretch of games, and there's not shoot the gun on the entire team and yourself moves. Like, that's the difference, right? He's had some weird moments, but I can't remember. Like, he's got 4 red zone picks off the top of my head that I can think of. Right, 4 red zone picks, and I'm not even including like the one against the Colts that he set up inside his own, like, and with games on the line. We just never. He may have been off in games, but it was not also compounded with, hey, I'm gonna go Trevor Lawrence here. I'm going to go and just blow it with this pick, with this reckless. Like he's got some Will Levis throws in there. Like, whoa, what was that? So no, I think that's a great point to look like. He's been kind of playing this way. He just hasn't been making just game altering mistakes at the rate that he has been doing this year.
Yeah. I do think that's like obviously a lot of it's on Patrick Mahomes, but I do think some of that is like the offense.
Absolutely, everybody.
Yeah, and what they're asking him to do. And I think I mentioned last week, like the RPOs and stuff. Like it's just kind of gotten tired. Like we've seen lots of teams move away from that type of stuff in the NFL, and the Chiefs are still running it at one of the highest rates in the league. And it's like it just feels like they just desperately need to change things up somehow. And I think that when Mahomes is healthy, that would be a huge benefit to him too, because I do think that it's gotten into his head, and as we've seen the last 2 years, it's affected his play.
Yeah. But even with everything that we're saying, BK, like, yeah, maybe they need to change the scheme, change how they're running offense, change the stuff. The part that is so crazy is, like, if you watch this game, this team could be a double-digit win team with all of the scheme and stuff they've been running this year. They just blew so many chances and opportunities for this team to even with how much we're talking they needed change. They were still right there in a lot of moments and just blew opportunities and chances to win some of these games.
Dude, there's a world where last year's team is basically this year's team, and this year's team is last year's team by record. Because last year, one of the greatest qualities that you could attribute to them, they were clutch. They would make plays down the stretch that winning teams make. And for a lot of, I would say, national analysts or fans of other teams, they'd look at it and say the Chiefs were lucky. They were fortunate to have the record that they did last year. And there's some truth to that. Like there were some games, the Broncos kick block, that was good fortune mixed with taking advantage of your opportunity, right? Like that's not something you can expect to happen more often than not, where you're blocking a kick to win the football game. But they made plays like that with regularity. They knew they were going to make the next play. And this year it's been the opposite, where they get into these late game situations or these clutch spots where they're in the red zone or they're defensively, needing to come up with a stop with 4 minutes to go, and they just can't get it. The other team just bleeds out the clock to where Mahomes doesn't even have that opportunity to go make a score and either tie the game or take the lead. And so that's been the biggest difference, is they just haven't come up with the plays when they've needed them the most. And it's missed opportunity after missed opportunity. It feels like the last 6 weeks in particular, that's been the theme. And defensively, it's been every bit as bad as offensively in some of those games where they just can't make the play that they need to make. So I don't know how you fix that. I don't know if that's a schematic thing or it comes down to each player to just give that extra 10% in the offseason. Like all of this stuff is very cliche, but it's also true. And they've failed to come up with the big plays when they've needed them. And that's very surprising. It's not something that we've seen often in the Mahomes era. And if there's one thing that needs to change next year more than basically anything else, it's that. They've got to get back to making those plays in the clutch again.
No, it was, and you said, how does the extra 10%? It's weird because obviously what everyone's talked about, and it's true, the complete swings from just the last 2 years when it comes to what you're talking about, how you explained it, and it's such a heavy swing, and in all of those games this year, things went so far against them in this direction. And on the opposite, like I would say that Chanel made a play, but yeah, you're right. I mean, it could have gone anywhere else. He could have kicked it anywhere else and it gone in, or the Raiders snapping the ball and him not looking, and that's the way they lose that game. But like, it almost feels like some of that is out of control. Like some of that is just like no matter how bad the Chiefs play next year, there's no way that they're going to have 6 straight games where they can't make any play. Nothing bounces nothing bounces their way. Nothing goes their way. They're unable to make any play. Some of that is weird, and then some of it is clearly like buckling down and being who you have been for every year, but this year, focus, making plays, not making the mistake. It's more of that. Like the Chiefs made plays, but sometimes the Chiefs just didn't make mistakes that the other teams made and didn't panic, right? And we can see mistakes from all over the place. Rashee Rice drops against the Texans and the Cowboys. Obviously, we talked about those red zone picks, but Andy losing his mind against the Texans, just making blatant mistakes. Chris Jones just nowhere standing against Jacksonville. Like we can go through Kelce drops that pops up for interceptions. We can go, but it was from game one all the way to the end that they just seem to have that problem, which is just almost unexplainable in some form or fashions.
All right, you've given your "I'm mad at this" take today, right? Like you've gone through a few of them. Can we stop with the Brett Veach is the worst GM in the history of sports conversation, please? Can we stop? It's driving me insane, Ron. I understand that Brett Veach had a bad offseason. I'm not here to cape for the offseason that he had. It was really bad. I mean, it couldn't have gone much worse. I don't remember fans saying that at the time, though. This was not sometimes you do have it where you see it in the moment, you're like, what are they doing? Like, why? Why is that the decision that you're making here? This offseason, I remember people saying that about Omar Norman Lott, where people are like, I don't know that I really see that as a second round pick. It doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to me. But then the entire rest of the draft, people are like, yeah, man, kind of nails it. Hit all of the things that you wanted. People wanted a running back earlier, but that was about it. Other than them failing to get a running back, I think people, for the most part, were pretty excited by adding a corner of significance in free agency. It's failed. It could not have worked out any worse than it has. But they did it, and it's failed. Sometimes that happens in free agency. I don't think a whole lot of people were all that upset about bringing back Trey Smith or paying Nick Bolton what they did. Maybe, again, I'm wrong on these things, but I didn't see a ton of criticism at the time. And now, with the benefit of hindsight and seeing the way that the season has gone, I feel as though there is suddenly this groundswell of, man, knew it all along. That Brett Veach is a total fraud. He's been riding Patrick Mahomes' coattails the entire time.
I've heard John Dorsey's. I saw that one, BK, that John Dorsey, that's where all of the core in this team is coming from. Brett Veach is just rolling with Dorsey's picks of Mahomes, Kelce, Jones. Like, I'm just like, oh, we just forgot about Creed Humphrey and Trey Smith and Rashee Rice and Trent McDuffie and L'Jarius Sneed. Like, we forgot about all
Shamari Connor is a home run 4th round pick. We all get frustrated by him in the slot. As a 4th rounder, that's a really good selection. Yeah. The great pick. Jalen Watson's an awesome pick, dude. Noel Williams looks like he's going to be a good corner.
Isaiah Pacheco, like but that's that. And I don't mean to cut you off while you're cooking, but you talked about the offseason, right? It was a bad offseason. But when he's pulling the trigger, him and Andy and others, I don't think this is not just a Pat Riley situation where he makes decisions and you just got to deal with it. Andy's involved in all of this. But I look at the offseason and it's more to me circumstances than it didn't work. Like, Jalen Moore was not a failure to me. And I think he's going to be your starting right tackle next year. And he came in and he played a lot. And I mean, he has played pretty well for the most part. Like you go through, like Christian Fulton is the one that really sticks out, and Elijah Mitchell. But I mean, hell, guys, he didn't get a carry this year. So shit, I don't even know what Elijah Mitchell is. Obviously, we're gonna get a food. He didn't get a carry, and Pacheco was hurt, right? So I mean, I don't believe he just went out there and just said, "I want Elijah Mitchell, and here you guys deal with it." I think somebody else over there wanted Elijah Mitchell. All right, and Jerry Tillery, don't love that, but I think that
Jerry Tillery's always been kind of a nothing dude in the NFL anyways.
Yeah,
like,
but
that wasn't going to blow my socks off.
But also, this is the cost of doing business and keeping Chris Jones. You've got to go cheap somewhere, and the second defensive tackle is where you have to go cheap.
Well, also when it combines, when you don't go cheap and you use a real resource and he blows his knee out, and the draft, like that's to me thing is like when you look at the draft. Like free agency, Christian Fulton, like his two big swings were Christian Fulton and Moore. I think Moore is a hit, and especially going to be a hit after this year. And he played more than you figured he would. But like Josh Simmons, that a bad pick? You don't feel good about that? Right? I mean, again, when I say circumstance, like he had some stuff that was completely out of Brett Veach and anybody's control. For really all of the time that Josh has missed and is going to miss, right? It's a freak-ass injury from his own teammate, and then he just had to go away for 5 weeks out of nowhere. But because he got Jalen Moore, you had a pretty good situation until everybody got hurt, right? And Omar Norman Lott, I don't think you could really go on. Who does not like Noah Williams? Noah Williams is the reason why you can feel comfortable potentially shopping Trent McDuffie. Oh. Like he's a good pick now. I don't know how Spags didn't play him that as much until later, but Noah Williams is the next L'Jarius Sneed. He is the next Trent McDuffie. Ward before them, in line where they found these guys and they can move on and not have to pay the corner because they drafted him. And I feel good about him drafting another one this year because he got Watson over there too that's in that line. It's just and I think Andy Reid is thrown into this conversation too, fellas, because now he's a raving idiot. Now at this point, I don't know if he's going to be able to pull this together. He's a lunatic. Now it is wild to me, Serda, how good these guys have been. And after this year now, man, they got a problem. They can't draft. They can't coach. They're stale. Like, come on, man. They had a bad year that I think a lot more of their issues, as I said, were circumstance and weird shit that people want to give credit to, that we just got to calm down. I need Brett Veach to blow a couple of more off seasons before I'm sitting there like, yeah, man, he got it. Yeah, they got a problem there. I'm sorry. It's just a bit much. I'm with you on that.
They've done a very good job of drafting for the most part, and this is another like overreaction thing. But I do think that there's some criticism in the fact that like it felt like they could have been more aggressive in trying to do some things like ahead of the trade deadline this year. But like also like we've seen Brett Veach be aggressive in the past. I think that sometimes they are a little too conservative with draft capital and things like that. And you see good teams like the Rams and the Eagles like constantly have a lot of this like roster turnover, but they're always hyper aggressive in the way that they rebuild those things. And that's why they never stay down for very long. But I think some of that is like complacency in Patrick Mahomes and just assuming that you're going to be good enough. And Brett Veach simply can't do that this offseason. And I think he knows he can't do that this offseason. So hopefully we see him go out and be aggressive and he actually makes some significant moves because they've got a lot of decisions to make. They got a lot of guys that probably aren't going to be on this team next year, and they're going to have a lot of holes to fill on this roster.
And so I also want to cape for Brett Veach here for a second, because I think some of it's just unfair criticism. Some of it is they held on to the core a little too long. And I think that's a fair criticism if you were willing to make it at the time. If you were saying at the time, no, gotta let Chris Jones walk. This is one of the moves that the Patriots would have made where they let go of a guy a year too early instead of a year too late. If you were saying that when Jones was about to hit free agency, okay, you can criticize it now. I don't think there was a single Chiefs fan that wanted that. I think we all wanted Chris Jones back because he was an all-pro level player. They were going for a three-peat. You got to bring the dude back. If you were somebody that was okay with Travis Kelce being allowed to walk, cool. He's about $20 million against the cap this year. Is he worth $20 million against the cap for his 2025 contributions? Probably not, if we're being real. He's still a pretty good player, but probably not worth $20 million. You weren't letting that guy walk. Nobody in their right mind would have let that guy walk or would have suggested to him that he should go into retirement early. If you wanted Creed Humphrey to walk, cool, fine. If you thought, hey, you know what? They actually should have taken on $35 million in dead cap this year to let Jawan Taylor walk. Pay him to go away instead of playing for you for this year. And again, taking on more money than what it costs for him to be a part of your team. Cool, go ahead and criticize. But so much of this, Ron, was about them going all in over the last couple of seasons to try to get that three-peat. And when they failed to do so, the bill eventually comes due. And this year, the bill came due. We knew, hey, the way that this thing is constructed, they're going to need a lot of young guys to hit. We knew in the secondary this year, you look at the safety position, we talked about this in the preseason. They're going to need a step from Brian Cook. They're going to need Jaden Hicks to take a really big step this year.
He did
I'm not sure either of them did, if we're being real. I thought going into the season, they were going to need Trent McDuffie to go back into the slot. He never did this year. And I think maybe some of this eventually, maybe this is a Trent McDuffie decision. Is it possible that Trent doesn't want to play in the slot? Because when you do, you are much more important in the running game, which means you're putting your body on the line more often, and you're going to blitz more often, which means you take more hits that way as well. Maybe he wanted to be an outside guy.
And the Christian Fulton plan dissolved. Also,
sure, but they have outside corners now. Like Jalen Watson has been good this year. And I agree with you. Noel Williams, when given an opportunity, has been plenty good this year. They're choosing to play guys like Kevin Knowles. And they've gone with some of these other dudes that are like nothing burgers. And they're using them in the slot because I don't think that they wanted to play Trent McDuffie there for maybe reasons that include Trent McDuffie not wanting to play there. So this is a long-winded way of saying, I think some criticism of Brett Veach is fair. I don't think he had a good offseason. I don't think he did a good job in free agency. I did not feel that way at the time. This is second guessing, not first guessing. And I liked most of the moves that they made, but you're judged based upon whether or not they succeed. And they didn't. I thought the process was fine. The actual results have been quite bad so far this season. I'm more than comfortable giving him another chance to get this thing right in the offseason. He's swung for the fences before, and it's worked out really well. Look back at that 2022 offseason. I want him to go ahead and get back to doing something like that again. Let's see what it looks like if he's able to go out there and get a top 15 pick this offseason for the first time in his career.
Yeah, my Brett Veach thing is it was, to me, much more circumstance of what happened as opposed to he was just bad. Like Harrison Butker was just bad this year. It wasn't just like, oh boy, he had to kick a bunch of 60-yarders. That's why he had the most misses of anybody. No, he was just bad. He was just bad all the way around, and it was him, not necessarily the circumstances that led to some things. Right, like there are multiple spaces where his whole game plan went to hell. He loses Rice and Worthy in 15 minutes. They're done for weeks, right? That 72 fella. They got some kid from the international program that they got to play last week. Like, so I don't know, man. I think he's done and earned enough grace for what he has done throughout this time to think, yeah, there were some circumstances, some bad things that kind of went against him that led to his offseason. All right. One thing I think we should talk on, and this is coming out late in the week, and that is it looks like Arrowhead may not be here for much longer. It looks like basically there is a meeting in Topeka coming up on Friday in which word on the street is that the Chiefs have real major potential to attend this meeting, and this could lead to an agreement for them to build a new stadium on the Kansas side. I'm guessing they're the Legends, I believe, on the Kansas side, and that Arrowhead will be no more, and that the Chiefs will continue to be the Kansas City Chiefs, just in and on the Kansas side of things. And this is, 2030 something could be when you're looking at this. And
2031, I believe, is when the
31,
lease is up. January of 2031, so it would be the 2031 season.
There's a lot of mixed feelings on this, I think, from a lot of people. I have a personal connection with Arrowhead and the parking lot and the tailgating and all of that. And I do think Arrowhead is one of those. It's one of how many stadiums? Like, I know they're putting that GEAH stuff. It's Arrowhead. Nobody calls it really that except for the people who work for the Chiefs. But like, they're one of 2 stadiums, 3 stadiums, Soldier Field, Lambeau, Arrowhead, that their field is named like a name and not a sponsor. And I just love the feel of it. I love Arrowhead. I love all of that. But that being said, when they build a state-of-the-art dome and it can bring so much more to the city, wish it was happening in Missouri personally, but they could potentially have Final Fours where everyone will reap the benefits. They could have WrestleManias where everybody reaps the benefits, big concerts and shows and all of that. And you can be sitting there in 70-degree weather in January during the playoffs in a dome. I think it's going to happen. I know Quentin Lucas, the mayor of Kansas City, and all those are trying, but they're not. It's done. The Chiefs don't. I think the Chiefs want to go, and they've kind of shown that. So that looks like that is going to happen very soon.
My read on the matter, Ron, is that maybe Clark wanted to give it one last little college try to keep Arrowhead.
It's a stadium his dad built.
Exactly. And when that failed, and I think it failed in large part because it wasn't a particularly easy plan to sell. I remember talking about it at the time. It was like, okay, so hold on. You guys are going to get $300 million, and what you're going to do is upgrade the VIP areas that 95% of fans will never have access to. I don't know why 95% of fans would vote for that then. So it never really made sense to me, the plan that they put forth, but that's long gone. That's not going to happen. So once that didn't happen, we talked about this at the time, and it never really has changed. My belief was that was the end of Arrowhead. That was the end of that plan. And so it's a sunk cost at this point. As a fan, I love Arrowhead. I had my dad had season tickets whenever I was little. And so that was it was a sanctuary for us. We'd go every Sunday. I remember for Thanksgiving, that first Thanksgiving game between the Chiefs and the Broncos, the one that was on NFL Network. And that was a core memory for me as a kid. It's the loudest that I've ever heard of that stadium. We had seats right behind the end zone, and I'll never forget that experience. Arrowhead is such a crucial part of my upbringing. And like you, Ron, I'm from Blue Springs, so I'm from the Missouri side of Kansas City. If we acknowledge on the front end of the conversation that Arrowhead wasn't going to exist in its current form, no matter what. If that is the starting point for negotiations, because I believe that's probably the case, I am not somebody that is bothered by the team moving to Kansas. I don't have any issues with it. I would be bothered if the team moved away from Kansas City. That would bother me to my core.
Yeah.
But so long as the team is in the metro somewhere, whether that be Overland Park or Leawood or North KC or Liberty or Raytown, I don't care. So long as they are in the city, I'm good with it, man. And there are some real positives that can come from them moving to their spaceship stadium out by the Legends, where it's going to be climate controlled, 70 degrees year round, no matter what. You can go to a preseason game in August. It's going to be 70 degrees in there. You can go to a playoff game in January when Patrick Mahomes is 36 years old towards the end of his career, and it's probably going to be a good thing for him to have the climate control in there while he's playing later on into his career, and it's going to be 70 degrees in there. So I've got no issues with this. I know that I'm probably in the minority. There are a lot of Chiefs fans that are very upset about this potential news. I'm just not among them. I think there are as many benefits as there are negatives. Again, with the understanding that Arrowhead in its current form probably was never going to be a realistic option.
I get why people are upset. And Arrowhead is an important part of a lot of Kansas Cityans' lives. I used to have Chiefs season tickets. I've covered, I don't know how many Chiefs games at Arrowhead Stadium. Like, I've got some really fond memories of that place. But despite everything the Chiefs have said in recent years, it's been apparent for years that they wanted separation from the Royals. And the Chiefs really limped into that vote last year with what BK said was like really minimal upgrades and a real like lack of effort into any type of plan that was going to make Arrowhead better for your average fan. And I think in part of that was too, you saw the Royals campaigning for like months leading up to that vote, and the Chiefs didn't say a thing about it because the Chiefs wanted to separate from the Royals. And I get it. Why, even though the Royals seem to be on the rise and they've been better the last couple of years, why do the Kansas City Chiefs need to be tied to the Kansas City Royals in any way when it comes to stadiums and taxpayer dollars? Like, I understand what the Chiefs are doing, so I think this was always the plan. Like, I think as soon as it was apparent that they weren't going to get whatever money they asked for from the people of Jackson County, that they were always going to drastically consider moving to Kansas because Kansas was always going to offer them a brand new state-of-the-art stadium. And that's just what happens. Like, it's better than the Chiefs moving to a whole different city. They're just moving across state line about 25 minutes. So it's fine.
By the way, appreciate everybody checking this out. Please, if you're watching this on YouTube, like and subscribe. Please take this moment, hit that little like button. This is how we get ourselves rolling, man. Please like and subscribe. By the way, with that, like, I don't know, man. It's like I will light the fuse for Kaufman. Like, I'll walk out there, I'll light the damn thing. And Kaufman it's a similar thing. I mean, Kaufman's been around the same age that I've been around going to Arrowhead. I just don't have the same. And I've been clearly to more Royals games. I just don't have the same emotional feel, like, maybe because I look up and think, well, you know, they didn't created a new Busch Stadium. They tore down Busch Stadium, and I know in St. Louis that's a much bigger deal. Hell, that might be as big a deal. That's what I would compare Arrowhead to. I don't think Arrowhead is quite on the. And they're getting rid of Soldier Field, right? They're moving, but like I don't think they're trying to. That's all Indiana. At least the Chiefs aren't doing that. But like I don't think Arrowhead is quite Lambeau or Fenway or Wrigley. But I think it's like Busch. And if the Cardinals can move on from Busch Stadium, and I'm telling you, people are going to be butthurt. But what they build out there. Trust me, they're not taking away tailgating. They're going to build it in a way, and they got enough space. Trust. They're going to build it in a way where they have ample amount of tailgating. And once your ass starts getting in there and you start feeling the amenities, and when I say amenities, just controlled weather is enough. And not to mention that just businesses around the entire city. If the Final Four comes to Kansas City, all of Kansas City, Missouri and Kansas side is going to feel that. If WrestleMania comes, all of Kansas and Missouri are going to feel that. I know we look at Indianapolis, and I know Kansas City is a better city than Indianapolis, no offense. And more things going forward and more things to do. They get everything because they have a dome and because they have a climate control thing. And for the first time, the Chiefs will have stuff around the stadium for people to be able to do before and after games, which is also will be a big key to this. So listen, it as you said, BK, once you get past the, man, even if they stayed in Missouri, they were going to blow all of that up anyway and create what they're going to do there. So it wouldn't have been Arrowhead. And now you got more than Denny's and Darien to go to after or before the games.
I think you said the important factor though, Ron, like as long as they include a huge parking lot for tailgating, that's the most important factor. Because I think for a lot of people, don't get me wrong, Arrowhead is amazing. It's a fantastic experience. It's loud as hell. It's an unbelievable environment. I love the stadium. For a lot of people, the real tie for them is actually the tailgating. Like that is the part of it that has an emotional fondness that you think about as you consider what sets Arrowhead apart from other stadium experiences across the NFL. And it's that tailgating experience, pregame, postgame, everything in between. And so as long as they have something similar to that in this new stadium, I think people will come along for the ride. That is something, though, that they are going to have to take into consideration is, all right, how do we give almost a nod to the history of Arrowhead with whatever this new stadium is going to be?
Call it Arrowhead. Do what they did at Busch Stadium. Call it. They just call
Busch 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah, just do that too. They probably won't. They ain't gonna lose that money for that sponsorship. But yeah, man, I can't wait to see what they do because it's going to be one of the best stadiums in the world. And so it'll be fun. All right, we are out.